This is CBN NewsWatch.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for CBN NewsWatch for this Friday, June 12th. I'm George Thomas. President Trump says he will pursue an executive order to encourage police departments across our country to meet the most current professional standards for the use of force. CBN News reporter Charlene Aaron tells us that move comes as President criticizes Democrats for broadly branding police as the problem. Take a look.
During a trip to Dallas Thursday, President Trump announced plans to reform police in an effort to reduce racial inequalities, including better training.
We're working to finalize an executive order that will encourage police departments nationwide to meet the most current professional standards for the use of force, including tactics for de-escalation. We're not defunding police. If anything, we're going the other route. We're going to make sure that our police are well-trained, perfectly trained, they have the best equipment.
The president also slamming calls to defund the police, saying that would only make problems worse.
Unfortunately, there are some trying to stoke division and to push an extreme agenda which we won't go for, that will produce only more poverty, more crime, more suffering. This includes radical efforts to defund, dismantle, and disband the police. They want to get rid of the police forces. They actually want to get rid of it. And that's what they do.
The president's comments come after nationwide protests over the death of George Floyd, a black man at the hands of a white police officer in Minneapolis. Some argue for elimination of police departments or stripping agencies of their funding. On Capitol Hill, Senate Republicans are working on their own police reform bill, which focuses on better training and includes a new national database to track potential police misconduct. One sticking point is over qualified immunity, which can protect police from civil lawsuits. Democrats want to make it easier for individuals to sue police for damages, something the White House says won't be included in the Senate bill. In testimony before lawmakers Wednesday, Floyd family attorney Ben Crump said Floyd's death shows the need for more police body cameras and pushed for limiting qualified immunity for police involved in the killing of African Americans.
If there's no accountability, it will keep happening. And we pray that George Floyd is the last one. But if this great body doesn't act, it's going to happen again.
South Carolina's Tim Scott, the lone black Republican, is leading the Senate police reform effort, working with the White House, saying it's nearly done and that he thinks a bill is possible.
I've always said we're on different tracks. I think the tracks have common terrain, but it's not necessary that we be on the same page on every aspect of it.
Meanwhile, Senator Rand Paul has introduced legislation to end no-knock warrants after the shooting death of a 26-year-old African-American woman, Breonna Taylor, in her home by police in Louisville using a no-knock warrant. The Justice for Breonna Taylor Act bans officers from carrying out a warrant without announcing their authority or purpose. Charlene Aaron, CBN News.
Thank you so much, Charlene. J.D. Greear, president of the Southern Baptist Convention, addressed members this year in a video and talked about the racial divide in our nation.
As a gospel issue, Black lives matter. Of course, Black lives matter. Our Black brothers and sisters are made in the image of God. Black lives matter because Jesus died for them. Black lives are a beautiful part of God's creation, and they make up an essential and beautiful part of his body. And we would be poorer as a people without them and other minorities in our midst.
Greear also says talk of defunding police is, quote, disrespectful to many public servants who bravely put themselves in harm's way every day to protect us. But I know that we need to take a deep look at our police system and structures and ask what we're missing. Brooklyn Nine-Nine star and Christian Terry Crews is facing enormous backlash for calling for unity between black and white people. Crews called on both to work together to end racial injustice. He wrote in a tweet that defeating white supremacy without white people creates black supremacy. He said, "We are all in this together." Well, he was harshly criticized for suggesting there could ever be such a thing as black supremacy. Crews responded to his critics, saying that everything he said comes from a spirit of love and reconciliation. You can see the full story at our website, cbnnews.com. We move now overseas, where Israel's plan to annex parts of the West Bank is receiving criticism from some unlikely sources. CBN Middle East Bureau Chief Chris Mitchell explains why AIPAC, the main pro-Israel lobby in the United States, would reportedly be telling lawmakers they are free to criticize the move by Israel.
The European Union, Arab states, and others have criticized Israel for its plan to annex Israeli communities in the West Bank. The German Foreign Minister Heiko Maas added his voice Wednesday in a visit to Jerusalem.
We are of the opinion that annexation would not be compatible with international law, and that is why we continue to stand by a negotiated, consensual two-state solution.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu set July 1st as the deadline for annexation. It was originally part of President Trump's deal of the century peace plan. Now the U.S. administration is sending mixed signals on the timing. One factor, they want to make sure that alternate Prime Minister Benny Gantz is fully on board before implementing the plan on the ground. Maas stopped short of saying how Germany or the EU would respond.
In our view, we are now at a time when diplomacy and negotiations must be given a second chance.
Palestinian Prime Minister Mohammed Shtayyeh warned of serious consequences if the plan goes ahead.
This annexation is a total erosion of our national aspirations. The annexation is a total erosion of the geographic base of the future Palestinian state. And the world has to choose between international law and annexation.
Some Israeli community leaders in Judea and Samaria warned the plan would lead to a Palestinian state that still supports terror. But Oded Ravivi, mayor of Efrat, a large settlement near Jerusalem, told CBN News these are the times to seize an historic opportunity.
The Trump deal is a vision for peace to try and create a better atmosphere in this region. The legal concept is applying Israeli law where Jews live today, which basically would mean that our status will equal to the status of the rest of the residents of Israel.
Israelis returned in earnest to Judea and Samaria after 2,000 years as a result of its victory in the 1967 Six-Day War. Palestinians want all of it as a future state. The coming weeks will be crucial in determining who controls this land. Chris Mitchell, CBN News, Jerusalem.
And my favorite reporter in all the world, Chris Mitchell, joins us now from our bureau in Jerusalem. But we won't tell everybody else that you are my favorite. So, Chris, tell us, talk about the language. Why is that so important in this critical debate over annexation?
Well, George, and the language about this is very important because annexation itself, the word, is a bit of a misnomer. It's not sort of like Russia seizing land in Crimea a few years ago, and it's not taking any additional Palestinian land. What it is actually doing is applying Israeli law over Jewish communities. Right now, those communities are under actually military law since 1967, basically declaring sovereignty over those areas. So the language is very important. It's not like they're seizing Palestinian land like that the word annexation applies.
Help explain, what are the developments that are concerning to both people in Israel and on the Palestinian side?
Well, one of those developments is it's fairly ominous. We have a story on that on CBNnews.com today. It's actually that the Palestinian Authority has actually stepped up cooperation with some armed groups of Fatah, which is their political arm. There's fears of a third intifada. I actually lived through the second intifada back from 2000 to about 2004. So there's a concern by many in the security establishments that there could be violence after the annexation passes, if it actually does. Also, the Palestinian Authority has threatened to dissolve itself. That would cause some problems to Israel, maybe not overwhelming problems, but Israel actually would have to step in and actually take over some of the governing authorities of the Palestinian Authority. And actually, George, some Palestinians may actually like the Israel taking over more authority from the Palestinian Authority because there is a deep distrust on the streets there of the Palestinian Authority. They consider Mahmoud Abbas corrupt as well as the organization. So there is a sense within the Palestinian street at least some Palestinians that they might see Israel as a better alternative. That's something you won't hear publicly, but you could hear that privately.
Yeah. The idea of another intifada would not be good at this time, especially with all that's happening with COVID and the rest of the situations around the world. Real quickly, is there one development that is redemptive, offers some hope on the ground there, Chris?
There is, George, and actually we interviewed a man named Avi Zimmerman. He's the head of Judea and Samaria Chamber of Commerce. This is where actually Palestinian and Israeli businessmen and women working hand in hand, face to face, sitting down and actually having business deals together. It's a grassroots effort. It's a win-win for both sides. It's incremental, but it is making a difference on the ground. And I think that's one redemptive thing that's happening over in this situation right now.
Okay, tell us real quickly, what do you have coming up on this week's Jerusalem Dateline?
Well, we have an interview with Avi Zimmerman. He's going to explain what's happening there on the ground. We have an update on annexation. And, George, we also have a story on Aliyah from Ukraine. About 130 Jews not too long ago stepped here on the tarmac at Ben Gurion Airport to come back to the Promised Land, fulfilling the words of the prophet. We also have a story about what's it like when Jews come back here from the four corners of the earth and adjust to their new life. That's all a part of what's happening on this week's Jerusalem Dateline. George, you got to watch it. I think you'll like it.
Yeah, well, you know, when you're the most good-looking man on television and such a great reporter, what do you expect? You get your own show. By the way, you can catch Chris Mitchell's show, Jerusalem Dateline, tonight with Chris and company on the CBN News Channel right here at 9:30 Eastern. All right, Chris, have a great weekend, my friend. We'll talk to you later.
You too.
Thank you. Folks, coming up, a look at earlier efforts in America to defund police departments in some major cities and the results. That story in a moment.
Life is better with a good night's sleep. Get your free DVD or booklet of Protect Your Sleep as the world watches from the outside.
It's a big diplomatic tug of war here in the Middle East.
Go inside the story with Jerusalem Dateline.
Israeli archaeologists are talking about a discovery that could change the thinking about the Temple Mount.
Join CBN Jerusalem Bureau Chief Chris Mitchell and get the biblical perspective on the events shaping the world.
What starts in Israel then ends up going to other places.
Watch Jerusalem Dateline Friday night at 9:30 on the CBN News Channel.
Life. It's meant to be lived fully. Jesus said it. I came to give you life. Life to the fullest. Life in your family. Life in your finances. Life in your body, mind, and spirit. Life in your everyday. At CBN.com, we're taking what Jesus said seriously. We're here to help you discover life. Life. Live it fully. CBN.com.
Welcome back. You know, the recent push to defund police departments sweeping across the country is not without precedent. In fact, it's already been tried in one of America's largest cities, San Francisco. Chuck Holton takes a look at the effects of those policies.
San Francisco used to be known as one of America's most beautiful cities. While one of the world's wealthiest metros, San Francisco is also one of the most liberal. In recent years, the city has served as a test bed for many progressive policies that then show up in other parts of the country. These range from offering sanctuary to illegal immigrants, cash payments, and even free marijuana to the city's homeless, decriminalizing property crime, and defunding the police. The city's depolicing initiative aimed to strip cops of their power to enforce the law. San Francisco resident Doug Wiley says it makes police hesitant to do their jobs.
They fear repercussions, whether it's legal or social or what have you. They fear acting proactively will put them in a beef. And so agencies are broadly saying, hey, there's things that we don't want you to do anymore. Or individual officers slow rolling to a call, making sure that they arrive after everything is done. The consequence of that is increased crime.
Results have been as negative as they were predictable. The city's now more dangerous than 98% of American cities. Homelessness and illegal drug use are rampant. Property crimes have skyrocketed to more than 55,000 each year.
On a daily basis, you'll see homeless people shooting up, heroin, or I'll walk my dog down the Embarcadero, and there's used hypodermic needles on the ground. There's human feces. There's all these things where, you're at the hub of innovation. You're in the center of progressive thought, and yet people are left, to be living on the streets, using drugs.
They have changed the laws, but they've also de-emphasized, again, depolicing, de-emphasized enforcement of laws that do still exist. Heroin's still illegal, but it's really not enforced when it's on the street. So that's what the example of depolicing is. If you de-emphasize or decriminalize, people are going to do what they think they can get away with doing.
If you're trying to mitigate, it's like they're confused. They don't know, they say they want to mitigate police shootings, yet they don't allow San Francisco police to carry tasers.
In 2015, 32-year-old Kate Steinle became one of the many victims of San Francisco's soft-on-crime but hard-on-citizens approach to law enforcement. Kate Steinle was murdered right here on Pier 14 in San Francisco. The man who killed her claimed it was an accident, but I would submit that that was an accident that was constructed by the city of San Francisco through bad policy. Let me explain. First of all, this guy was a felon, had 7 felony convictions, and had been deported from the United States 5 different times before that. He had also been arrested by the sheriff here in San Francisco. But because of that city's sanctuary city policies, they had let him go only hours earlier and not informed ICE so he could be deported again. Because of that, he was able to be here on this pier where he picked up a stolen gun. That gun had been stolen from a car that was parked right over here on the Embarcadero several nights earlier. The reason that the car was broken into was because of San Francisco's policy of essentially decriminalizing auto break-ins, making it basically like a parking ticket. And because of that, somebody was able to break into that car and steal that gun. We don't know exactly who that was. Now, the third thing is that the gun was in the car because of San Francisco's policy, a very restrictive policy on the carrying of firearms. The man who owned the gun was a park ranger from the Bureau of Land Management. He was on his way north to Montana to work, but he went out with his family here and didn't want to bring his gun into the restaurant because of the very tight gun control policies, and so his gun got left in the car got broken into, the weapon got stolen, the illegal immigrant picked it up, and Kate Steinle is dead today because of those policies.
It bothers me enormously that people like elected officials and celebrities in Hollywood, other residents of California, are surrounded by armed guards, armed security, and I'm not allowed to protect myself in the same way. That makes me feel that they feel I'm less of a person to protect.
Chuck Holton, CBN News, San Francisco, California.
Still ahead, NASCAR makes a statement by pulling one flag from racetracks from here on out.
Life is better with a good night's sleep. Get your free DVD or booklet of Protect Your Sleep today.
I'm Ephraim Graham, and this is Studio 5. Cruise with me as I discover the good things happening in the world of music, sports, television, and movies.
If fact that Ryan Coogler was going to be directing the film, I knew that something special was going to happen.
We'll chat with artists at the forefront of entertainment and explore the connection between popular culture and faith.
I asked my pastor, I said, well, does that mean I'm supposed to be a preacher? He says, well, no, you already have a pulpit.
Watch Studio 5, Wednesday night at 9:30.
Remember for a moment what it was like to be a child. You believed every story you were told. You saw a world full of endless possibilities. What stories will the world's orphaned and at-risk children believe? We believe the Bible tells the only story truly worth believing. We believe that every child should have the opportunity to dream, the chance to take challenges and turn them into possibilities, the chance to stand on the promises of God, to recognize their place in the greatest story ever told. They have their whole lives ahead of them. Theirs is a world of endless possibilities. They are looking for a story to believe. We will tell them that story. Will you join us?
Welcome back to the broadcast. You know, even though NASCAR is running races right now without fans in the stands, it has banned the Confederate flag from all racetracks following the worldwide outcry over the death of George Floyd. Here with more is CBN News reporter Sean Brown. So, hey, Sean, were you surprised by the move with only one black driver, Bubba Wallace, in NASCAR's National Series?
Good morning, George. Yes. I've been to a few NASCAR races. Yes, African Americans do watch NASCAR. And when I go, I'm usually greeted, the people are very nice, but I'm usually greeted with a sea of Confederate flags. And, you know, with other sports leagues and franchises beginning to speak out, for instance, the NFL, NFL players got together, put out a video stating their position on, you know, the fight against police brutality and systemic racism, calling for the NFL to actually make a statement. And NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell actually put out a statement in support in the fight against social injustice. And so here, you know, now Roger Goodell even made a personal commitment to join the fight. But now in NASCAR, you know, the players, the drivers did something similar, and NASCAR is now moving to remove a flag that has been, you know, at least I used to associate it with the sport. We've just kind of gotten used to it. But now they are saying no more. They're not going to have the flag at any racetrack affiliated with NASCAR. And so yes, I'm very surprised.
My understanding is that the drivers even made a video to stand with Black Lives Matters, right? Yes. The drivers got together to just basically say, hey, you know, we don't want this either. We're in support. The biggest names in NASCAR, of course, including Bubba Wallace, Joey Logano, Michael McDowell, Jimmy Johnson, a few others got together and said, hey, you know, here's our plan to join this fight. And it starts with us we're going to stop being silent and we're going to speak up. And so they needed to voice their opinion, and they did. And so here we are. You know, I'm very surprised, but it is definitely time. How do you think this whole idea will play out with fans? You know what, man? In the video, they said it's going to be a long fight, just because it's been so long, you know, affiliated with the sport. But people, you know, intuitively, we want to love, we want to do the right thing. So in time, I believe, you know, as we progress through this, I think people will begin to warm up because they love the sport. But it's going to be a long time coming, man. It's going to be a fight. It's not going to be easy. I don't believe that. Yeah. Okay. Real quickly, tell us what you have coming up on Going the Distance this weekend. Well, interesting enough, we're going to talk faith and race. An NFL tight end, Ben Watson, did a forum on faith and race. And so we're going to take a good look at that just to kind of start the discussion once again. Okay, terrific. All the good-looking people on the CBN News Channel, they get their own shows. What is up with that? My man, Sean Brown. Yeah, that is awesome, buddy. Well, you can catch his show, Going the Distance, right here on this channel, on this weekend, on the CBN News Channel. Okay, folks, coming up, a much-needed good deed. In the face of all the turmoil in America right now, how one man decided he wanted to make a difference. That story in a moment.
On October 1st, 1961, history was made when a tiny station began transmitting the first signals of the Christian Broadcasting Network.
CBN, the Christian Broadcasting Network.
And now, a new era has begun with the all-new CBN News Channel.
Just moments ago, the Iron Dome intercepted an incoming rocket right on the Gaza border.
And ministering in this area, spiritual warfare is definitely involved.
A 24/7 news network, bringing you the news you want from a source you can trust.
In Kenya, 40% of the medical services are actually provided by these Christian hospitals.
Let's talk about the economy.
Believers here are joining together to win people to Jesus Christ.
All your favorite shows now in one place. Go to CBNNewsChannel.com to find out how to get the CBN News Channel on your TV all day, every day. CBN News. Life is better with a good night's sleep. Get your free DVD or booklet of Protect Your Sleep today.
Life. It's meant to be lived fully. Jesus said it. I came to give you life. Life to the fullest. Life in your family. Life in your finances. Life in your body, mind, and spirit. Life in your everyday. At CBN.com, we're taking what Jesus said seriously. We're here to help you discover life. Life. Live it fully. CBN.com.
I am Region's first ROTC graduate student.
Welcome back to the broadcast. A picture of hope coming out of Alabama, wow, in the middle of all the anger in our nation. Garrett Cotton was at Cracker Barrel in Pell City, Alabama, and posted this awesome picture of what he saw. A middle-aged black man buys dinner for 4 police officers seated nearby. He says the man approached the officer, asked for their tickets, and said he was paying for their meals and would not take no for an answer. Cotton wrote in his post, quote, "With all the craziness in the world right now, all the hatred and people being divisive, it's a good thing to see stuff like this. It's also a good reminder that we are all human and not to ever judge anyone by their uniform or skin color." That's fantastic. Gives us hope in the beauty of humanity. Well, folks, remember, that's it for this edition of Newswatch. Remember, you can find more stories and our programs on the CBN News Channel anytime or online at cbnnews.com. Do me a favor, tell us what you think about the stories you've seen. Email us at newswatch@cbn.com. Or you can reach out to us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. From all of us here from the headquarters of the Christian Broadcasting Network in Virginia Beach, Virginia, we wish you a fantastic Friday and a wonderful, safe, and healthy weekend ahead. Goodbye, and God bless.